Here's a story again about Sandy, the sensitive dog. I received a phone call from Pam, his human, one day, and she was really cranky. She said that she and her husband had not been able to sleep for days because Sandy had started to bark and whine all night. She didn't know why, they couldn't figure out what the reason was, and she wanted me to talk to Sandy. Of course, I agreed, but before I did that, I asked her what had changed, if anything, in the household or the bedtime routine. So first of all, Sandy came to her accustomed to sleeping in a crate. They didn't change that practice. They had a little nighttime ritual, and he went into his crate, and there wasn't a problem. She said that just recently she and her husband had moved his crate a couple of feet down the hallway from where it had been, but that they didn't think that seemed to be a problem, so they really weren't sure why he was carrying on all night. We chatted just a little further, a few more minutes, and I asked if there was anything at all in the routine in the last while that she thought there might have been a change. Because one of the things that I've discovered over the years talking to animals is that animals that are not used to being around people in many lifetimes don't like change. They just don't adjust very well to it. But I thought that, having his kennel changed to a location a couple of feet away shouldn't be that big of a change to cause the reaction that he had. Pam assured me that there was nothing else and that, in fact, she and her husband had been talking about fostering another dog. They were so pleased with how things were going with Sandy. Aha. I asked her when they had that conversation, and she said 5 days ago, somewhere in there. I said, how long has Sandy been whining and crying? 5 nights. Thought that was very interesting. So I had a conversation with Sandy, and it turned out that when Sandy came in as a foster dog, Pam had an older cat that ended up going to the vet one day shortly after Sandy came into the home and was euthanized. And it was time and appropriate, but Sandy didn't know that. So in his mind, when he came into the household, the one animal that was there left. He knew that Pam and her husband had been talking about getting another dog. And he thought if another dog came in, then he would have to leave the household, and he didn't want to. He really liked it there. That was really the crux of the issue for him, and that's why he was making such a commotion, because he wanted to stay and he didn't want them to get another animal. I talked to Pam about what I'd learned from Sandy and suggested to her that she and her husband not even think about having another dog in the house for at least a year to allow Sandy to get climatized and know that he's safe and that it is his forever home. I also told her I suspected that Sandy would probably never welcome another dog. It was just too much for his anxiety, that he would think if one came in, he would leave. She agreed, and that was the end of the issue and the end of the whining and crying at night, because Sandy knew he wasn't going to be replaced. A short while later, I received another call from Pam, and she told me that she and her husband had been talking about getting a cat and allowing another cat in the household, that she talked to Sandy about it and that it hadn't raised any anxiety or actions that led to her believing he was anxious about it. So they thought perhaps they could have a cat join their household. That felt like that was appropriate and that Sandy would be okay with that. And I have heard nothing further from the household, so I'm assuming that all is well. A cat came into the household and Sandy was fine with that. So remember, until we chat again, to always listen to your animals, because they're always speaking to you.